just have a quick update on the Aspen community meeting. The next community meeting will be on May 16th, so coming up soon. And I can pop a link to the agenda in the chat. It'll also go in the Aspen Community Slack channel if you're not already in that channel. Please join. We had a really great discussion at our last meeting about some kind of eye in the sky hopes and dreams for Aspen. So we'll be following up on that discussion with this coming meeting, plus any other topics that anyone wants to add. So please, please come. We'd love to have more folks.
Okay, and I think I'm excited about that meeting. Like, we had such an invigorating meeting last time, and a lot of the conversations that sometimes we've had here at the end, we're shifting to that meeting so they can be a little bit more conversation based and not announcement based. So definitely check that one out. But I want to share my screen because we have another really exciting thing coming up. And that is an ALA pre-conference. We've been talking about this for the past few months. Our speaker list is getting filled out just a little bit more. So I'm really excited about all the different things that these folks are going to have to say about working with open source software. We're going to have some conversations in there. It's just going to be a really fun and exciting day. Within the agenda, there is a link to go ahead and sign up and let us know that you're interested, and we'll make sure that you get all of the information ahead of time. Space is a little bit limited. I mean, we have quite a few chairs, but we'll also use that as space starts to really get limited. If that happens, then we'll use that to kind of determine who gets to come. So definitely, if you're going to be at ALA, this is something not to miss, and it's a day-long thing. So you'll hear more about that next month too, as we get closer. The next thing that we have is what we do every month, which is our release review. And we talk about our priorities, talk about what our plan was and how we did. So here you see 2305. And this morning or just now, you got to see the events registration within the account that Mark showed you. I'm going to show you next the design for the barcode checkout in LiDA. And we actually got a little bit more done with LiDA as well. Thinking this through made us think that we needed to do a little bit more design there. After a big release last time with a lot of kind of splashy features, we decided to take a step back and do some high priority bugs and partner priorities. And we kind of sometimes go back and forth that way. The continue work on sharing content between partners. We didn't really do much with that this month. We decided that we wanted to wait and see how the community is using what we do to see if there's any tweaks we want to make to the features we've already done. For a lot of the upcoming sharing too, there might be some more community involvement that we need. Now, it's really easy to share a translation or to share a theme and for another library just to grab it. But we're talking about doing things like sharing manual grouped works, which would save a lot of redundant work that's done across libraries. But those are the kinds of things that, who evaluates whether these two should be grouped, that we might want to talk about at a community level. So we definitely have more sharing coming, but before we just kind of rush out and throw those out there, I think we want to have some more conversations. So we left that one at planned for this month. For next month, we are going to do a little bit more things that partners are asking for. So if you're putting in your priorities, if you're putting in some of those high priority bugs, we still have some features planned. So book cover enhancements. One of these is from the community, what they asked for at the last community meeting, which is to show, and we showed it at the last gathering, our mock-up for that one, where we're showing the book covers for all of the different editions. We're hoping to get that done, as well as some workflow changes to uploading manual book covers. So when you add one, maybe for an edition, does it go to the grouped work? Does it not go to the grouped work? Just to make sure we have the best workflows and options there. We also have a couple two e-commerce updates coming. Certified payments by Deluxe, if you've heard of them or want to use them, they're the check. I always think of them as the check people, like the Deluxe checks. That integration is almost complete. We're putting the final touches on that. We will also be working on PayPal Payflow. And then some more single sign-on work. I think this really is going to be ongoing, like without expecting it. All of a sudden, like this is one of the big things for the year is single sign-on. And like I said, the bugs and the priorities that all of you put in tickets, your requests, what you ask for. So yeah, that's our plan for 2306. I will go ahead and pause to see if we have any questions. I don't see anything in the chat. Okay. Well, I'm sure we don't have questions because if you're like me, you want to get to the design review. Um, so this is the design updates that Kirsten worked on for LiDA this month. We had a couple of different goals. One of them, as we started to think about this, we don't want LiDA to just look like a hodgepodge. We don't just want to smack one thing on top of another. We want it to look very intentional. So, like it was all designed together, but we still want to be able to keep adding new features. So one of the things we talked about was the ability to, we know that later you will want to add additional content for your website, maybe content from Web Builder, just links to other things. And right now there's not a way to do that in LiDA, but we wanted to make sure that there was a place to be able to do that once we have that feature. The other thing we wanted to do was be able to integrate events. As we add more events platforms, we wanted to be able to make sure that patrons can find their events in LiDA the same way that they can find those events within Aspen. And then we also have had a number of requests for barcode checkouts. So what that means is basically a self-check that you can do from LiDA on the app. And well, I don't need to explain it because you're going to see it in just a minute. So we will go into those mock-ups. So if it's not abundantly clear that this is a mock-up. We haven't coded this yet. We're here to get your, oh, you know what? I forgot one more talking point from this one before we get to the mock-ups. I did on purpose put these two screenshots here to show you what we have today. This is both the Discover screen, where all of your browse categories automatically show, as well as this one over here is the search screen. And this is where patrons currently go to search. And we also have this quick search feature. So one of the things that we did was decide maybe these two don't need to be separate screens. On Discovery, they're actually the same page. It's the library homepage. You have the search at the top, and then you have the browse categories. The other thing, as we started to think about barcode checkouts and where those would go so that they would be intuitive, we started to think about the navigation that's here at the bottom. What should be there? How many things should be there? So that prompted a change in potentially moving these two together. So again, this is what it looks like today. And then I'm going to go into what our mockups are for moving forward. So if you notice now in the navigation, instead of having the Discover and then the search, which, if you're a patron, maybe you don't understand the difference between those two. You're here to find books and you're used to looking for that search icon. So now we have just the search icon right here. At the top, we have a search bar. So similar to the page that we had before, we also added this barcode scan button. So I like this because if you're out shopping, you can, and you see a book that you want, but we don't buy every book that we read or we'd all be bankrupt because we're librarians. You can be out and you can actually just scan that barcode. So if you were to tap on this, it would open this barcode scanner. You could scan the barcode right here. This having trouble, if you click on this, what it lets you do is enter that barcode manually. I don't know if you've ever been like with the QR codes and it won't scan. So we just wanted to make sure we had a plan if somebody just wanted to quick enter that barcode. So this is what we're looking at. Having the search at the top and then the browse categories at the bottom. Now with this simplified view where we have 4 instead of the 5 that we had before. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is events integration. We do not have events in search results yet. We do have events in my account. So if you click on account, just like when you're in Discovery, you will see your events. Just like in Discovery, where you have all upcoming and past, we can list those events here. We're trying to make it clear when something is requires registration, so you can see the registration required right here. You can remove it from your list. If you click in, just like in Discovery, if you have an image that's coming from your event platform, it will pull that in. We have the title. We have the date and time right here, where if you click on this, it's going to add it to your calendar, give you the prompt to add it to your calendar. Again, the goal is to just be the same or similar to the way a lot of other apps function. If you want directions to where that event is taking place, and this is particularly helpful if it's maybe not at the library, clicking on this will open the navigation in your phone. We also have information, again, this is all just repeat of what we have in Discovery. In your events right here, it says, hey, you've already saved this one. You can add it to list. You can get more information. Here's the about, as well as kind of the tags that you see within Discovery and just a little map with where it is. I'll go ahead and pause. That was kind of two things. We have more to show you with the barcode checkout, but I want to pause to see if there's any comments before we get too far down the road.
Actually, I got a comment question.
Mhm.
The search feature that you have on for the barcode, can it do ISBN too?
That is what it is doing, I believe. So it would, like, we can search by ISBN already. So like trying to think, isn't that what the barcode on a book pulls up as the ISBN?
I just saw the barcode that you were showing was like the barcode for the library. So
yeah. No, that's just, again, it's just a mock-up.
And it should, so you can search by barcode as well. So it should work for either. So you could search for the barcode of an individual title or ISBN.
Thanks, Mark.
Or
I'm thinking
UPC.
about it. That's how the
Yeah.
self-check works
Yeah.
out. So like, otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Any feedback on these two coming together into one? Because that's kind of the big change.
I think that's a good move because every single time I go into the app, the first thing I do is I click the search button.
Yep, and that's what most people are wanting, and that's the goal, is to get people down here with what they might want quickly. I got a question that, is the barcode icon recognizable to folks that use other barcode apps? I would assume so, but that is an assumption, so we can definitely test that. And if anyone has feedback on that, you can share it with me for sure. But yeah, that's the intention. Okay, moving on. The next thing that I talked about, wanting to make sure that we have the space to expand to greater content later. So one of the things that we worked on, or that we talked about, is a little bit more in the more icon down here in the bottom. So for now, this is where we're talking about letting people essentially have navigation. You can see these are arrows to navigate down, and this would give you a place where you can link out to things that don't fit within the framework anywhere else. So it's a little bit, you have your account here, and that's going to open everything related to your account. And then you have the more here that will open both your settings and kind of the administrative things, as well as other just anything that your library wants to link to. This is, if you think about the navigation at the top of Aspen, could be similar to that. The other thing that Kirsten built in that I really like is just this My Library button up here that gives you all kinds of oops, sorry, you can tell it's a mock-up. That just gives you all kinds of information about what's going on, when your library is open, where it is, it's just a little bit of a better contact field. So one more thing to show you, and that is the barcode checkout. Now, barcode checkout is going to have to be something you enable. Again, this is going to be based on a SIP connection first, but I'll go ahead and move this with self-checkout. Hold on, there it is. Now I reloaded it. It's always with the mockups. Here we go. Okay, so one of the reasons we kind of wanted to re-look at these at the bottom is because we wanted the option to put this scan and go right here. And this is how you would check out if your library, again, had this enabled, or let patrons check out from the app. So I'm going to click scan and go right there. If you have multiple accounts enabled, you will be, or sorry, not linked accounts enabled, and you have accounts linked. There we go. Get the right words. You would select your account right here and then click start. Okay, so we get a notification at the top, you are checking out as Samwise, and then I can add a new item. Okay, we get that same scan, and we get that same having trouble button. As you scan them, they appear right here. At the time of scanning, they are actually checked out, but we kind of want a way to wrap this up. So when you're done, you click finish. And then you have the option to either start a new session, which you might want to do if you're standing there with your kids and each one has their books. You can, instead of trying to get it all at the self-check, you could just do it as you go along and as they find things. Or another thing that you can do is view the checkouts. That, again, mock up. So the view checkouts doesn't take you to the checkouts page here. But that's the scan and go functionality. So any feedback on that? I see some positive feedback. I see, I love the scan and go, wonderful. Comment in the chat. Any questions? So Chanel says, but it doesn't disarm RFID tags, and that is correct. This is something that we're rolling out in phases. The first phase is to use the SIP connection. The second phase is honestly probably going to be looking at the advantages or disadvantages of, with the various ILSs, using a checkout API. Because we know that some ILSs charge per SIP connection, so we're especially going to be looking at it for the ILSs that charge per SIP connection, to see if we can use an API so that it wouldn't require another SIP connection. The RFID gets a little bit trickier, but we do have plans to do that long term. We have a question. Does the app know where it is in case we have different member libraries? Oh no, chat's moving too fast for me. Different member libraries with different loan rules. Kirsten and I talked about some advantages or disadvantages of geolocation. The loan rules are going to be based on the person that you're logged in as. So that's not going to matter for the loan rules. It'll depend on everything that's set up for that particular patron. But if you can think of some use cases for geolocation, we're definitely happy to talk about that in the future. Yeah, like I said, we started to talk about it and then just decided we'll go with this to start. Next question, is the checkout library based on the patron home library, how the patron is logged in, or where they physically are? It is based on the patron right now. So if it does make a difference for where you physically are, because as I'm saying that now, all the complexities here are coming into my mind that I know with some of you, like you have to physically go to the library. Those are separate use cases and we'll have to talk about those. This is definitely the MVP and we're happy. And MVP, sorry to use the technical term or the technical jargon, is minimum viable product, which means like the first pass. So that's definitely this, and we can definitely take a look at where that geolocation makes sense to add it, or to just say maybe this isn't for you, for your library just yet. We have another one that says, could certain patrons be allowed to use Scan and Go and others not? That's interesting, Desiree. Maybe not allowing patrons with a Juvie patron profile to be able to do this. We can definitely take a look at that too. Like, yep, again, first pass. This is exactly what we want to be able to get all these ideas. Next one is, will the checkout library get stats for their patrons checking out at their location? Again, like not planned for this, but this is another idea that we're just going to add to the list. I feel like, Tara, this might be something that we need to add to the agenda, like to just get everyone's kind of hopes and dreams for this one.
For sure.
Yeah. But we actually have time right now, so we can continue on just a little bit if anyone else has questions or ideas. I see Katie from Wild says geolocation would be good for consortiums because not all libraries in the consortium will probably not use this feature, especially if RFID is not supported. Great. The other thing that we will probably do, we will probably be able to make it enabled per, I don't know. We'll need to talk about if we can make it enabled per library within a consortium. And because patrons are forced to log in, we would actually know what library they're at. But then you're going to get the thing where you have two people standing in the library. One has this functionality, one doesn't. And how easy is that to explain to staff? So there's definitely some pros and cons to doing it that way. But that's why we talk to you, so that we can figure all these little use cases out.
Just a tidbit on that. When they log in, we don't know what library they're at. We know what library their home library is.
Right.
So
thank you.
that's the gotcha.
But we will, if we have geolocation turned on, then we will know both what library they're at and their home library. But we're also not going to be building a lot of logic into Aspen, so it's going to be tricky for sure.
Yeah, this is Katie from Wild. And first of all, my improper grammar, consortia, type in too fast. It's just, yeah, I can see that everybody in Wyoming, we're one large consortia, but of course there's like 23 different public library systems. And I could see that they don't want other them going in trying to check out books, with a different library's card or something like that. I can just see how they would want it contained, in their library. So
that makes sense. So they would want that to have to go through your ILL rather than being able to just walk in and check it out. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, I was just thinking that if it's like a Lincoln County patron that goes to Laramie County and Laramie and Lincoln County probably wants to allow that barcode checkout, but Laramie County doesn't. So just kind of block them access at Laramie County.
Okay. That makes sense. So you would want the geolocation access blocked when they're within the library because that library hasn't enabled it. Got it. Okay, I see another one. Patron. Yeah.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, of course, we will not be able to override the loan rules in your system in the ILS. And we would be passing back the correct error messaging. So if a patron from library A cannot check out material from library B, then like that would continue to be blocked, obviously. So
right. And I think that got both of the next two comments with Mark's comment. Unless not, Katie, if you want to say more on that one.
No.
Okay.
I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong on Eileen's, but it's, I think her question is more about circulation stats and not on circ rules.
Well, I guess it would, sorry, this is Eileen. The app we're using now seems to be able to figure out that even if the patron is from a different library, the lending library gets the stats. So I guess that's loan rules. We have one library that doesn't participate. We got entire consortium buy-in because otherwise it's just really hard to do. But the only library that doesn't use our current app for checkout is the library that has RFID, but they would like to.
Okay. And then I think just to clarify in my own mind about the stats question, if library B is sending a book to library A.
No, our patrons go to different libraries. You know,
right,
I could be a patron of Hyannis on Cape Cod, but I might go to Mashpee to borrow stuff. So Mashpee, the way the loan rules are currently, Mashpee will get the checkout stats.
Okay.
So I'm guessing it'll work like that, the same.
We've figured out we're at the mock-up stage right now.
Yeah.
So like we don't, it doesn't work today. It's just design.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
Well, I could see potentially some libraries wanting to, since it is ZIP, creating a Aspen LiDA location that would then get those checkout stats that would say, here's all of the ones done through LiDA. So it sounds like there's lots of options we're going to need to consider.
Oh, our libraries would not want that.
Yeah, like I said, lots of different options.
Yeah, they want credit for their own checkouts rather than us just getting it as a consortium.
Any other feedback? This is exciting. Like there's going to be a lot to do here, especially on the designs, since that's where we're at, or we can keep talking about how it'll work. All right. Okay, so that's what we have today for those mock-ups, and I will go ahead and I think, is it Elise that's next?
I think so. Hello, everybody. That was so exciting. And I can't believe there's 51 people in here right now. This gets bigger every month. It's amazing. So we have a lot going on in May, a lot of conferences coming up. So Bill's getting those frequent flyer miles in. Next week, we'll be at the Maryland Delaware Conference from May 10th to 12th. And the following week, we're going to be at 2 different state conferences at once again, Florida and Utah. I know there's one Florida person in here. I'm not going to call her out right now, but we're also doing a fun run at the Florida Library Association Conference on Friday, so that'll be really fun. And the following week, we'll be at the Rhode Island Library Association Conference. And also, as Jordan mentioned earlier, ALA, and we're doing the pre-con, which is going to be amazing. And we also have a lot of partners presenting, so I'm going to share the link to that in the chat. And then just one more plug for the Koha Community Challenge that is going on right now. It's not too late to sign up. So I will share a link for that as well. But that's it for me. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Elise. All right, we are officially in open time. So does anyone have any open time things, questions, ideas, concerns, hopes and dreams?
So I was gonna throw my hat in the ring. And I'm going back to that scan and barcode thing. Is it possible to have that, you know, if it doesn't show up in the catalog, to have it saved to a list? Barcode, the ISBN,
You mean
I mean,
save to a list for the library?
or saved to your account, your list of your account.
So if
that-
you're scanning to search, you mean, or?
Yeah, it's like something pops up, says, you know, the library doesn't have this ISBN. Do you want to save it to a list so that maybe the user can submit the ISBN for purchase request?
Yeah, or we could save that middle step and just say the library doesn't have this. Would you like to submit for would you like to submit a purchase request?
That was my original idea, but I'm like, yeah, it might be a little too complicated at first. So
I think that's a great idea to explore. I love that workflow. So I think that's definitely something we can talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I know that I think Koha did something where you can pull in details from maybe Google Books based on ISBN for the purchase suggestions. So it's something, I think there might be a model to do that out there.
I know that BiblioCommons did something similar.
Okay.
So
Cool. And Cheryl in the chat says, or pass search to an ILL partner first before purchase request. Exactly. Like if you had ILL, that would be a great thing to do. Other open time, whatever's on your mind.
That being said, anywhere that you could add the scan utility, like the scan in, like an ISBN into a list, like since you're doing that, if you know once that code is done, would probably be nice for patrons if they want to, you know, if they have a book, if they, you know, they're looking through a bunch of books at the library, they don't want to check them all out now. Maybe they just scan the ISBNs into a list and check them out later. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I think that same use case works when you're in a bookstore. So you're roaming around seeing all these books you want to read. You can't afford all of them to be able to scan them all and save them to the list. So when you are at the library, you can pick them up.
An even better example.
I love it.
Is there a quick way to, I know some of our librarians, when they go to a bookstore, they want to quickly check to see if they actually already have that book at their library. So when you scan the ISBN, will it link to your catalog to see if your library has it? Does that make sense?
That's the idea. Yeah,
Okay,
right now
yeah,
it's a search functionality, but as you all are talking, I'm imagining something that, because it should pull up one search result, we know how library data is. But then we'd be able to pull up just that grouped work right there and then give the options to say, place a hold, add to list, just right there from the page, or like go to search results.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other things you would want to do with that scanner? Like, we're imagining it right now on the fly. It's great.
going to bother you again about this.
Yeah.
UPCs, is it going to be able to read that too? Okay, cool.
Yes. Yeah. You can already search for UPCs in Aspen. So it's what it's essentially doing is getting the information from the barcode and performing a search in Aspen.
Cool.
Yeah. We have another reading history question. One more reading history question. Is reading history wiped from Aspen completely when a patron chooses to stop recording reading history? Yes, it is. Yeah, and there's not a way to get it back. And there are lots of warnings to stop them from doing what they might not want to do to themselves, but if they do it, it is gone, and that's what we want.
I've definitely had some people delete it when they didn't mean to, and I don't know how. But we have we internally we haven't, I don't know, we've been like, oh, maybe it'd be nice to have something that's like you have like a couple hours or a day to be like, no, really, actually, I didn't mean to do that. Like a little undo that's only good for a limited time. But most, I mean, considering how many patrons we have, I think it's only happened maybe 2 or 3 times. So it's not that frequent.
Yeah. And speaking of security, I don't know how much Mark got into this in the beginning because I was coming from another meeting, was a touch late, but with the feature for the event registration, we did investigate, because we know that not everyone wants to collect the barcodes. We did investigate using the email as a way to match just email and patron name, but it was encrypted. So like in such a way that we couldn't, it would not be wise for us to be able to pull it in based off of just name and email. So it was kind of good to see like, hey, yeah, our security might be thwarting one of our features, but it is pretty strong. Cheryl asks, can you describe the option for our own white label app? How does that work? So automatically with Aspen Discovery, you can be a part of the shared LiDA app, and many of you are. We do have a library branded LiDA option available that is an additional cost, and that's because we actually have to set the app up for you separately, and we have to push the updates every month to your app separately from our app. All of the functionality is exactly the same. It's just that it is you have control over the colors and the branding and the logos for your library. That's the only difference. Otherwise, like there's no feature difference. So it's really an issue of branding. Is it a monthly cost for the customizable app? No, you would talk to Bill. Bill's here today, and he would put that in as part of your regular support contract. So it's, I would say, annual, right, Bill? Yeah. Any other questions on that? Back on scanning ISBNs or barcodes to lists. If you can later export those lists, I can see staff getting very creative with inventory tasks using this, and you can export those lists. So yeah. Other ideas or use cases?
Okay, that just gave me an idea. I'm thinking of like staff walking around making displays or a browse category that way, and having like, because if you pull that into a list, then you can go into Aspen and make that a browse category, and how cool that would be to like walk around the library and see things that maybe like aren't moving, like, you know, the bottom shelf type stuff, or just things that are brand new in the library, and being able to like walk around and like, you know, turn what's in your library physical building into, you know, add it like that quickly to your catalog. So I love that idea.
Or just have the physical display and just quick scan everything, and then it's also a browse category. Like it's just there.
And just a reminder that you already can add items to a list in bulk with your ISBNs. The scanning part from LiDA would just, you know, make it even easier. So I love that idea.
I do love the Shrimply the best. Something tells me that was Morgan.
Oh, it was. It's
I knew classic. It was, and I have that little earworm them in my head, like for the rest everything.
Shrimply the best.
No.
I dare one of you libraries has to make a Shrimply the best display now. Go.
But you must share it in the Slack channels, so we all see.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
Can you also bulk add from barcodes?
Yeah, it's essentially for when you're adding, you know, when you add multiple titles to a list, it's doing a catalog search, just like the scanning the barcode or the ISBN is doing, or will do with the scan and go. So yeah, you could even put like a title and the author's name on the same line, and it's just going to perform a catalog search and pull the first result. And Miranda linked to documentation about how to do that in the chat. So thank you, Miranda.
No problem. I look at it all the time because I forget.
Anything else today? Anything at all? All right. I'm going to start counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you, everybody, for another great Aspen gathering, and we'll see you again next month. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
The ideas.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.